A German shepherd guarded the old barn. Every night, what he protected left a widow speechless. The wind swept across the Nebraska plains, carrying the scent of frost and hay through the quiet night. Ellen Harper stood at her kitchen window, a mug of tea steaming in her hands, her grey eyes fixed on the silhouette of the old barn. It loomed against the star-strewn sky, its weathered boards silvered by moonlight, a relic of decades past. At 62, Ellen had lived alone on this farm since her husband Sam passed 3 years ago. Heart attack, sudden and cruel, leaving her with fields she couldn't tend and memories she couldn't escape. The barn was his domain, his sanctuary, and she'd avoided it since, letting it rot with the seasons. But tonight, like every night for the past month, a shadow moved near its doors, a German shepherd, tall and lean, his black and tan coat catching the faint light. He paced the perimeter, ears pricked, a low growl rumbling whenever the wind shifted. Ellen didn't know where he'd come from. No collar, no tags, just a stray who'd appeared one October evening and stayed. She'd named him Ranger, after Sam's old hunting dog, though this one was wilder, fiercer, refusing her calls to come inside. "Stubborn mutt," she muttered, sipping her tea. She'd left food by the back door, scraps of roast, a bowl of water, but Ranger ignored it, his focus locked on the barn. He'd eat only when she wasn't looking, then return to his post, guarding something she couldn't see. It baffled her, this devotion to a crumbling heap of wood and rust, but it stirred a curiosity she hadn't felt in years. The clock ticked past midnight, and Ellen pulled her shawl tighter, the farmhouse creaking around her. She'd tried coaxing Ranger once, early on, whistling, clapping, even tossing a biscuit, but he'd only stared, amber eyes unyielding, before resuming his patrol. She'd given up, figuring he'd move on when winter bit harder. Yet here he was, night after night, a sentinel in the dark. Sleep tugged at her, but the barn drew her gaze again. Sam had loved it, spent hours tinkering with his tractor, carving wood, humming off-key. Since his death, Ellen had sold the livestock, let the fields lie fallow, and kept to the house, her world shrinking to these walls. The barn was a ghost she couldn't face, until Ranger made it his own. A howl broke her thoughts, sharp and mournful, rising from the shepherd's throat. Ellen set her mug down, heart thudding. It wasn't his usual growl. This was deeper, a call that shivered through the glass. She grabbed her coat, the cold biting as she stepped onto the porch. Ranger stood rigid by the barn doors, head tilted to the sky, his howl fading into a low whine. Then he turned, locking eyes with her, and barked, once, twice, insistent. "What is it, boy?" she called, her voice thin in the vast night. Ranger pawed the ground, then nosed the barn doors, his tail stiff. Ellen hesitated, the wind tugging at her silver hair. She hadn't crossed that threshold in 3 years, hadn't wanted to smell the oil and sawdust that screamed Sam. But Ranger's urgency pulled her, a thread she couldn't ignore. She grabbed a flashlight from the porch, its beam shaky as she crossed the yard. The grass crunched under her boots, frost glittering like broken glass. Ranger met her halfway, his breath puffing in clouds, and led her to the barn, his steps deliberate. Up close, his size struck her, broad shoulders, a coat thick against the cold, a quiet strength that felt both wild and steady. He nudged the doors again, whining softly, and Ellen's fingers brushed the rusted latch. "All right," she murmured, more to herself than him. "Let's see what's got you riled." The doors groaned as she pushed, hinges protesting, and a wave of musty air hit her. "Hay! Leather, Sam!" Her throat tightened, but Ranger slipped inside, his claws clicking on the wooden floor. She followed, flashlight sweeping the dark. The barn was a time capsule. Tools hung on pegs, a workbench cluttered with bolts, the tractor hunched in the corner like a sleeping beast. Dust coated everything, a shroud over Sam's life. Ranger padded to the back near a stack of hay bales and stopped, ears twitching. Ellen frowned, aiming the light. The bales were old, sagging, but something moved, a faint rustle, barely audible over the wind. "Who's there?" she called, her voice sharper than intended. Ranger growled low, stepping forward, and Ellen's beam caught a flicker, eyes, small and bright, peering from a gap in the hay. She froze, breath catching. A child's face emerged, dirty, pale, maybe 8 or 9, with tangled brown hair and a coat too big for their frame. They flinched, shrinking back, and Ranger's growl softened to a whine, his tail wagging once. "Hey," Ellen said gently, lowering the light. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The child didn't move, eyes darting between her and Ranger. Ellen knelt, her knees creaking, and set the flashlight down. "You've been here a while, huh? Ranger's been watching out for you." The child nodded barely, their hands clutching a tattered blanket. Ranger edged closer, nosing their arm, and they relaxed slightly, a small hand brushing his fur. Ellen's mind raced. A runaway, a stowaway, hiding in her barn. She glanced at Ranger, his gaze steady, protective. He'd known, all those nights, guarding this secret while she'd stayed blind in her grief. "What's your name?" she asked, keeping her tone soft. The child hesitated, then whispered, "Toby." A boy's voice, thin and raw, like he hadn't spoken in days. "Toby," Ellen repeated, smiling faintly. "I'm Ellen. This is Ranger. You hungry?" Another nod, and she stood, offering her hand. "Come on then. House is warmer. Got soup on the stove." Toby eyed her warily, but Ranger nudged him and he took her hand, his fingers icy in hers. They crossed the yard, Ranger at their heels, the barn doors creaking shut behind them. Inside, the kitchen glowed with lamplight, and Ellen set a pot to heat, Toby huddling by the table with Ranger sprawled at his feet. She ladled soup, potato and leek, Sam's recipe, into a bowl, watching Toby eat with slow, careful bites. His coat was patched, his boots worn through, and questions burned in her. Where he'd come from, why the barn, but they could wait. "You been out there long?" she asked, sipping tea to steady herself. Toby nodded, swallowing. "Few weeks," he said, voice stronger now. "Ran from a bad place. Found the barn. Ranger let me stay." Ellen's heart sank. "He's a good dog," she said, glancing at Ranger, who thumped his tail. "Kept you safe." Toby smiled, small but real, and scratched Ranger's ears, the shepherd leaning into it. She saw Sam in that moment, his quiet kindness, his way with strays, and felt a crack in the wall she'd built around her grief. Sleep tugged at Toby, his head drooping, and Ellen guided him to the guest room, Sam's old office, Ranger trailing behind. "Rest here," she said, tucking a quilt around him. "We'll talk tomorrow." Toby nodded, Ranger curling beside him, and Ellen lingered, the sight stirring something deep, a purpose she'd lost. Back in the kitchen, she stared at the barn through the window, its silhouette softer now. Ranger hadn't just guarded it, he'd guarded Toby, and maybe her too, pulling her from the shadows of her own making. She didn't know what came next, but as the night settled, she felt alive again, tethered by a German shepherd's loyalty and a boy's trust. The farmhouse kitchen glowed with the soft hum of dawn, the first light filtering through frost-etched windows. Ellen rose early, her joints stiff from a night of fitful sleep, and set coffee brewing, the rich scent mingling with the lingering warmth of last night's soup. She glanced toward the guest room, where Toby and Ranger still slept, their quiet presence a jolt to her solitary routine. The German shepherd's steady breaths and the boy's small snores drifted through the wall, a strange harmony she hadn't expected to find in her empty home. She pulled her shawl tight and stepped onto the porch, the Nebraska air sharp with winter's edge. The barn stood silent across the yard, its doors still, no longer a haunt but a question. Ranger had known Toby was there, guarding him through frost and wind, and Ellen couldn't shake the awe of it. How a stray dog had seen what she'd missed. She'd lived blind to the world beyond her grief, and now it had spilled into her kitchen, small and shivering and real. Back inside, she fried eggs and bacon, the sizzle coaxing her thoughts into order. Toby emerged as the pan cooled, his brown hair a mess, Ranger at his heels. The boy's coat hung loose, patched elbows brushing the table as he sat, and his eyes, hazel, wary but curious, tracked her movements. Ranger settled beside him, ears pricked, a silent sentinel even now. "Morning," Ellen said, sliding a plate in front of him. "Sleep okay?" Toby nodded, digging in with a hunger that made her wince. How long since he'd eaten proper? Thanks, he mumbled between bites, bacon grease smudging his chin. Ranger watched, tail thumping, and Ellen tossed him a scrap, earning a quick lick of his chops. You're welcome, she said, sipping coffee. Ranger likes you. Kept you safe out there, huh? Toby's hand paused, resting on the shepherd's head, and a faint smile flickered. He found me, he said, voice low. First night in the barn, cold, dark. I was scared, but he came, sat by me. Didn't leave. Ellen's chest tightened. He's a good one. Showed up a month ago, been pacing that barn ever since. Guess I know why now. She leaned forward, keeping her tone gentle. Toby, where'd you come from? Before the barn? His fork stilled, eyes dropping to his plate. Ranger whined softly, nudging his arm, and Toby scratched behind the dog's ears, stalling. Far off, he said finally, vague and guarded. Didn't like it there, ran away. Far off where? Ellen pressed, careful not to push too hard. Folks must be looking for you. Toby shook his head, quick and firm. No one's looking. They didn't want me. His voice cracked and he shoveled eggs into his mouth, ending the thread. Ellen let it drop, sensing the wall he'd built. Fear, maybe shame, etched into his small frame. She'd wait. Trust took time, and Ranger had already laid the groundwork. After breakfast, she cleared the plates, Toby trailing her to the sink with Ranger at his side. Want to help outside? She asked, rinsing a mug. Barn's a mess. Could use a hand. Toby's eyes lit up, a spark breaking through his caution. Yeah, Ranger too. Course, Ellen said, smiling. He's the boss out there. They bundled up, her in Sam's old jacket, Toby in his oversized coat, and crossed the yard, Ranger bounding ahead. The barn doors creaked open, daylight spilling across the hay-strewn floor, and Ellen braced herself for the flood of memory. Sam's workbench, his tools, the tractor, all untouched, frozen in time. But Toby's presence softened it, his quiet steps a buffer against the ache. Been a while since I came in here, she admitted, kicking a stray nail. My husband Sam, he loved this place. Fixed everything in sight. Toby glanced at her, curious. Where's he now? Gone, Ellen said, her voice steady but thin. 3 years, heart gave out, just me since. She busied herself with a broom, sweeping dust, and Toby grabbed a rake, mimicking her. Ranger nosed around, sniffing the hay where Toby had hidden, his tail wagging. Looks like a fort, Toby said, eyeing the bales. Kept me warm. Ranger slept right there. He pointed to a flattened spot, and Ellen pictured it. The boy curled tight, the shepherd a shield against the night. Her throat tightened again, gratitude mingling with guilt. She'd been so close, yet so far. They worked in quiet rhythm, clearing debris, stacking tools. Toby's small hands were quick, steady, and Ranger darted between them, a playful guard. You're good at this, Ellen said, wiping her brow. Ever help out like this before? Sometimes, Toby said, shrugging. Had chores, wood, water, not fun ones. His tone darkened, and Ellen filed it away. Another piece of his past, jagged and untold. By noon, the barn looked less like a tomb, sunlight streaming through cracked boards. Ellen fetched water from the house, and they sat on the porch, Ranger sprawled at their feet. Toby gulped his glass, then squinted at the fields. Big place, he said. You farm it? Used to, Ellen said, following his gaze. Sam did. Corn, cattle. Sold the herd after he passed. Too much for me alone. She paused, the weight of that choice heavy. Kept the land, though. Couldn't let it go. Toby nodded, like he understood more than a boy should. Ranger likes it here, so do I. His voice was soft, almost a confession, and Ellen's heart stuttered. She wanted to ask more, where he'd run from, why, but his trust was a thread, thin and precious. You can stay, she said instead, meeting his eyes, long as you need, both of you. Toby's lips twitched, not quite a smile, and Ranger thumped his tail, sealing the pact. Afternoon faded to dusk, the sky bruising purple. Ellen cooked stew, beef and carrots, hearty and warm, and Toby ate 2 bowls, Ranger begging scraps. She watched them, this unlikely pair, and felt Sam's ghost ease, not gone, but quieter, sharing space with the present. After dinner, Toby yawned and she sent him to bed, Ranger curling beside him like a shadow. Alone, Ellen stood at the kitchen window, the barn a dark shape against the night. She dialed Sheriff Cal Brooks, an old friend of Sam's, his voice gravelly through the line. "Cal, it's Ellen. Found a boy in my barn. Toby, maybe 9. Been hiding out with a German shepherd. Says he ran from a bad place." A pause, then a sigh. "Hell, Ellen, any idea where from?" "No," she said. "He's skittish, won't say much. Figured you'd know if someone's missing a kid." "I'll check," Cal said. "No reports offhand, but runaways don't always get flagged." "That dog, collar?" "None," Ellen said. "Calls him Ranger. Showed up a month ago, guarding the barn." "Odd pair," Cal mused. "I'll dig around, quietly. You keeping him?" "For now," she said, her voice firm. "He's safe here." "Good," Cal said. "I'll swing by tomorrow, see what's what." He hung up and Ellen stared at the barn, Ranger's howls echoing in her memory. He'd known Toby was there, protected him, and now they'd both landed in her life, stirring a purpose she'd buried with Sam. Sleep came slow, dreams of Sam blending with Toby's small face, Ranger's amber eyes watching over them. She woke to a bark, sharp, urgent, from the yard. Heart pounding, she grabbed her flashlight and coat, stepping into the cold. Ranger stood by the barn, hackles up, growling at the dark. Something, or someone, was out there, and Ellen knew their quiet wouldn't last. The night air bit at Ellen's cheeks as she stood on the porch, flashlight trembling in her grip. Ranger's growl rolled low and steady, a warning stitched into the Nebraska wind. The German shepherd's silhouette was taut against the barn, his ears pinned forward, amber eyes glinting in the beam she aimed his way. Beyond him, the plains stretched into shadow, vast and silent. But something had stirred him, something close. Ellen's pulse quickened, the memory of Toby's fragile trust sharpening her senses. "Ranger," she called, her voice firm despite the shiver creeping up her spine. The dog glanced back, his growl softening to a whine, then bounded toward her, stopping at her feet. He nudged her hand, urgent, and barked once, sharp, insistent, pointing her toward the barn. Ellen swept the light across the yard, the frost-glazed grass glinting, but nothing moved. Still, Ranger's tension held her, a tether to whatever lurked in the dark. She stepped off the porch, boots crunching, and Ranger stayed close, his warmth brushing her leg. The barn loomed ahead, its doors shut tight from their work earlier, but the air felt heavy, charged. "What's out there, boy?" she murmured, her beam catching the weathered wood. Ranger circled the barn, nose to the ground, then froze by the back wall, growling again. Ellen followed, her light revealing tracks, boot prints, fresh and deep, pressed into the soft earth near a broken board. Her stomach dropped. Someone had been here recently, maybe watching. She knelt, Ranger's breath puffing beside her, and traced the prints with her light. They led toward the fields, vanishing into the tall grass Sam had let grow wild. "Damn it," she whispered, standing. Ranger whined, pawing the ground, and she patted his head, steadying herself. "Good boy, gotta tell Cal." Back inside, she locked the door, her fingers fumbling, and checked on Toby. The boy slept soundly, curled under the quilt, Ranger's spot beside him empty, now that the shepherd trailed her. She dialed Sheriff Brooks, the line crackling as he picked up. "Cal, it's Ellen. Ranger woke me. Found boot prints by the barn, fresh. Someone's been snooping." "Hell," Cal muttered, voice thick with sleep. "No tracks around the house?" "No, just the barn," she said, glancing at Ranger, who watched the window. "Ranger's on edge. Heard something I didn't." "Smart dog," Cal said. "I'll be out at first light. Check it myself. Keep everything locked till then. You armed?" "Got Sam's old shotgun," Ellen said, eyeing the cabinet where it sat, untouched since his hunting days. "Loaded, too." "Good," Cal said. "Stay sharp. I'll dig deeper on Toby, see if this ties in." He hung up and Ellen sank into a chair, Ranger settling at her feet. The house creaked, the wind a low moan, and she kept the flashlight close, sleep a distant hope. Whoever was out there, curious neighbor or something worse, Ranger had caught them, and she wouldn't let them near Toby. Dawn crept in, pale and cold, painting the kitchen gold. Ellen brewed coffee, her eyes gritty, and Ranger perked up as Toby shuffled out, yawning. "Morning," he mumbled, scratching the shepherd's ears. "Ranger okay? He's jumpy." "Fine," Ellen said, pouring him juice. "Heard a critter last night, kept watch." She kept her tone light, shielding him from the truth. Toby nodded, accepting it, and dug into toast, Ranger begging crumbs. She watched them, this quiet pair, and felt a fierce resolve. Whatever stalked the barn wouldn't touch them. Cal arrived as the sun climbed, his pickup rattling into the yard. Ranger barked, tail wagging, and Ellen met him outside, Toby peering from the porch. "Show me," Cal said, his weathered face stern. She led him to the barn, Ranger at their heels, and pointed out the prints, still clear, edged with frost. "Big boots," Cal said, crouching. "Man size, heavy tread, work shoes maybe." He snapped photos with his phone, then followed the trail to the grass where it faded. "Could be a drifter or someone local poking around. You see anything else?" "Just Ranger," Ellen said. "Growled, then led me here. He knew." Cal patted the shepherd's flank. "Hell of a god. I'll ask around. Quietly. No missing kid reports yet, but Toby's story. Bad place could mean trouble following him." He straightened, squinting at the barn. "Sam's old spot, huh? Been empty long?" "Too long," Ellen admitted. "Toby's the first life it's seen since." Cal nodded, thoughtful. "Might draw eyes. Abandoned look, kid hiding. I'll patrol extra, but keep Ranger close. He's your best alarm." He glanced at Toby, who waved shyly. "Good kid?" "Yeah," Ellen said, her voice softening. "Scared, but good." Back inside, Cal sipped coffee, Toby sketching at the table, Ranger mid-stride, tail high. "Nice work," Cal said, peering over. "You like it here?" Toby nodded, pencil pausing. "Better than before. Ranger's my friend. Ellen, too." His hazel eyes flicked to her, a trust she hadn't earned yet, but held dear. "Glad to hear it," Cal said, standing. "I'll check those prints, dig into runaways, maybe foster homes, group places. Call if Ranger barks again." He left, his truck rumbling off, and Ellen turned to Toby. "Want to fix up the barn more?" she asked, needing the distraction. "Make it ours." "Yeah," Toby said, brightening. "Ranger's fort." They spent the day there, sweeping, stacking hay, Ranger darting between them. Ellen found Sam's old radio, its crackle filling the space with country tunes, and Toby hummed, a sound that eased her heart. The barn shed its gloom, sunlight piercing the cracks, and she saw Sam in it, not a ghost, but a memory, warm and steady. By afternoon they sat on hay bales, sharing water. Ranger sprawled nearby. "You ever have a dog?" Ellen asked, wiping her brow. "Once," Toby said, his voice small. "Big one, like Ranger. They took him, said I couldn't keep him." His hands clenched, and Ellen's mind raced. Whoever they were, they'd left scars. "Ranger's yours now," she said, firm. "No one's taking him." Toby's lips twitched, almost a smile, and he leaned against Ranger, the shepherd's tail thumping. Dusk settled, the sky a bruise of purple and gold. Ellen cooked chili, the kitchen warm, and Toby ate with gusto, Ranger begging scraps. She was washing dishes when Ranger's ears pricked, a low growl rumbling. She froze, suds dripping, and glanced out the window. The barn was dark, but a flicker caught her eye, movement quick and low near the fields. "Toby, upstairs," she said, drying her hands. "Take Ranger. Quiet now." He obeyed, fear flashing in his eyes, and Ranger followed, growling softly. Ellen grabbed the shotgun, its weight cold and familiar, and cracked the back door. Her flashlight swept the yard, landing on a figure, tall, broad, slipping into the grass. Not close enough to shoot, but close enough to see. She dialed Cal, her whisper sharp. "Someone's back. Saw him by the fields." "Lock up. I'm 10 minutes out," Cal barked. "Don't go after him." The line cut, and Ellen bolted the door, shotgun propped nearby. Ranger's growl echoed from upstairs, and she climbed to Toby, finding him huddled by the window, the shepherd beside him. "He's out there," Toby whispered, voice trembling. "I know him. Big guy, mean." Ellen's blood chilled. "Who, Toby? Who's he with?" Toby shook his head, tears brimming. "From before, bad place, he'll take me back." Ranger pressed close, whining, and Ellen pulled them both into her arms, the shotgun at her side. "No one's taking you," she said, fierce. "Not while I'm here, or Ranger." Headlights flashed, Cal's truck, and the figure vanished, swallowed by the night. But Ellen knew this wasn't over. The barn's secret had a past, and it was closing in. The farmhouse trembled under the weight of the night, its old bones creaking as the wind clawed at the windows. Ellen sat on the guest-room floor, Toby pressed against her side, Ranger's bulk a warm shield between them and the door. The shotgun rested across her lap, its cold steel a comfort she hadn't sought since Sam's hunting days. Outside, Cal's truck idled, its headlights cutting through the dark as he swept the yard with his deputy, their voices muffled by the glass. Toby's words, "He'll take me back," hung heavy, a jagged piece of his past Ellen couldn't yet fit. Ranger's growl had faded to a soft whine, his ears twitching toward the window where the figure had vanished. Toby clutched the shepherd's fur, his small frame trembling, and Ellen tightened her arm around him. "Cal's here," she said, her voice steady despite the thud of her heart. "No one's getting in. Not past him, not past Ranger, not past me." Toby nodded, his hazel eyes wide but trusting, and Ranger licked his hand, a quiet vow. Headlights flashed again, Cal's signal, and Ellen eased to her feet, peering out. The sheriff trudged up the porch, his broad silhouette unmistakable, and she met him downstairs, shotgun in hand, Ranger trailing her. "Gone," Cal said, stomping mud off his boots. "Tracks match the barn, big guy, fast. Lost him in the fields, too dark to chase." He eyed the gun, nodding approval. "You see him?" "Briefly," Ellen said, setting the shotgun by the door. "Tall, broad, slipped away when you rolled up. Toby knows him. Says he's from the bad place. Scared stiff." Cal's jaw tightened. "Upstairs?" Ellen nodded, and he followed her, Ranger leading the way. Toby sat on the bed, knees drawn up, his sketchpad clutched like a shield. Cal knelt, his gruff voice softening. "Hey, kid, I'm Cal, sheriff. You're safe here, got it?" Toby nodded, glancing at Ranger, who settled beside him. "He was big," he whispered. "Yelled a lot, hurt people. I ran 'cause of him." Cal exchanged a look with Ellen, his eyes narrowing. "Where was this, Toby? A house? Somewhere else?" Toby's hands clenched, the pencil snapping in his grip. "A farm. Bigger than this. Lots of kids, mean grown-ups. They locked us in. Took my dog." His voice broke, and Ranger whined, nudging him. Ellen's stomach twisted. Abuse, neglect, a nightmare Toby had fled. "How far?" Cal pressed, gentle but firm. "Dunno," Toby said, tears spilling. "Walked days, hid in trucks, found the barn, then Ranger." He buried his face in the shepherd's fur, and Ellen sat beside him, her hand on his back. "Enough for tonight," she said, meeting Cal's gaze. "He's had it." Cal nodded, standing. "I'll dig. Sounds like a foster setup, maybe illegal. No kid reports match yet, but this guy could be tracking him." He paused, softening. "You're a tough one, Toby. Ranger's got your back, Ellen too." Toby peeked up, wiping his eyes. "Thanks." Cal tipped his hat and left, promising patrols, and Ellen locked the door, Ranger's presence a steady anchor. She stayed with Toby till he slept, the shepherd curled beside him, and then sat vigil in the kitchen, shotgun nearby. The night stretching taut. Morning dawned gray, the plains shrouded in mist. Ellen brewed coffee, exhaustion gnawing, and Ranger patted out, nudging her hand. "Good boy," she murmured, scratching his ears. Toby emerged quieter than yesterday, but ate oatmeal with small bites, Ranger begging crumbs. "Cal's working on it," she said, pouring juice. "You're staying, safe." Toby nodded, his sketchpad open to Ranger's face, fierce, loyal. "He won't stop," he said, voice low. "The big guy, he finds people." "Not here," Ellen said, fierce. "This is our ground. Rangers, mine, yours." Toby's lips twitched, a flicker of hope, and she clung to it, a lifeline against the shadow creeping closer. Cal called mid-morning, his voice clipped. "Checked foster records, nothing official on a Toby, but there's rumors. Shady outfit north of here. Big farm, takes runaways, works 'em. No proof yet, but that guy could be an enforcer. Prints from the barn match a felon, Vince Hardy, assault theft, slippery bastard." Ellen's grip tightened. "He's after Toby?" "Likely," Cal said. "If it's a racket, Toby's a loose end. Knows too much. I'm raiding the place tomorrow. Got a judge on it. Keep him close. Ranger, too." "Always," Ellen said, hanging up. She turned to Toby, who raked the barn floor, Ranger at his side. "Want to fix the radio?" she asked, needing normalcy. His eyes lit up, and they tinkered with Sam's old set, static, crackling into music. Toby hummed, Ranger sprawled nearby, and the barn felt alive. Theirs, not just Sam's ghost. Afternoon brought a chill, the mist thickening. Ellen was sweeping when Ranger's ears pricked, a growl rumbling. She froze, broom still, and peered out the barn doors. A truck rumbled in the distance, faint, but closing. "Toby, inside," she said, her voice sharp. He grabbed Ranger, darting to the house, and Ellen followed, locking up, shotgun in hand. The rumble grew, a beat-up pickup rolling into view, rusted, red, lights off. It stopped by the fields, a hulking figure stepping out, Vince Hardy, she knew it. Ranger barked, hackles up, and Ellen dialed Cal, her whisper urgent. "He's here! Truck, big guy!" "5 minutes!" Cal barked. "Hold tight! Backup's with me!" The line cut, and Ellen cracked the blinds, watching Hardy stalk toward the barn, a crowbar glinting in his hand. He moved with purpose, boots crunching, and Ranger's growl turned feral, teeth bared. "Toby." "Upstairs," Ellen said, guiding him to the guest room. "Stay quiet. Ranger's with you." Toby nodded, fear etching his face, and Ranger pressed close, a shield. Ellen gripped the shotgun, peering out. Hardy reached the barn, prying the doors, his grunts audible. Sirens wailed, distant, racing closer, and he froze, head snapping toward the sound. He bolted for the truck, crowbar clattering, but Cal's cruiser screeched in, cutting him off. Deputies spilled out, guns drawn, shouting, "Hands up, Hardy!" He cursed, raising his arms, and Ellen exhaled, her knees weak. Toby crept down, Ranger at his heels, and they watched through the window as Hardy was cuffed, snarling. Cal knocked, grim but triumphant. "Got him. Caught in the act. Assault. Trespassing. Ties him to that farm. Raids tomorrow. He'll crack, spill it." Ellen nodded, relief flooding. "Toby safe?" "For now," Cal said. "We'll shut it down. Get answers." He glanced at Toby, softening. "You're a brave kid. Ranger, too." Toby hugged the shepherd, tears brimming, and Ellen pulled them close, the shotgun set aside. Night fell, the house quiet but alive. Ellen cooked stew, Toby ate, Ranger sprawled nearby, and they sat by the fire, Sam's old hearth, its crackle a comfort. "He's gone," Toby said, voice small, "but others might come." "Maybe," Ellen said, fierce, "but we've got Ranger, and me. You're home, Toby." He smiled, real this time, and Ranger thumped his tail, sealing it. The barn stood silent outside, no longer a hideout but a haven, guarded by a German shepherd's loyalty and a widow's newfound strength. The fire in the hearth cast flickering shadows across the farmhouse living room, its warmth seeping into the worn floorboards. Ellen sat in Sam's old armchair, the shotgun propped nearby, her eyes drifting between Toby and Ranger. The boy huddled on the couch under a quilt, his sketchpad open to a half-finished drawing of the German shepherd, ears sharp, eyes fierce. Ranger sprawled at his feet, head resting on his paws, but his ears twitched at every creak of the house, a sentinel even in rest. Outside, the Nebraska night was still, the plains cloaked in mist, but Ellen felt the weight of Vince Hardy's capture and the uncertainty of what came next. Toby's pencil scratched softly, a quiet rhythm against the fire's crackle. "He's locked up," he said, not looking up. "The big guy, Vince, right?" "Yeah," Ellen said, her voice steady. "Cal's got him. Caught him red-handed. Sheriff's raiding that farm tomorrow, shutting it down." She leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. "You're safe, Toby." He nodded, but his hand trembled, the pencil pausing. What if there's more? He wasn't the only one. Others yelled too. Locked doors. His voice dropped raw with memory, and Ranger whined, nudging his leg. Toby scratched the shepherd's ears, steadying himself. "I don't want to go back." "You won't," Ellen said, fierce. "Not ever. This is your place now, ours." She reached out, squeezing his shoulder, and Toby met her gaze, his hazel eyes searching. A faint smile broke through, small but real, and Ranger thumped his tail, sealing the promise. Sleep came slow for Ellen, the armchair her post as Toby dozed on the couch. Ranger curled beside him. She kept the shotgun close, Cal's words, for now, gnawing at her. Hardy was down, but Toby's past was a tangle, its threads stretching beyond one man. She drifted into dreams of Sam, his laugh, his hands fixing the barn, only to wake at Ranger's low growl, the fire reduced to embers. The shepherd stood by the window, hackles up, staring into the dark. Ellen grabbed the shotgun, heart thudding, and peered out. The yard was empty, the barn a silent shadow, but Ranger's growl deepened, a warning she couldn't ignore. She dialed Cal, her whisper sharp. "Ranger's growling, something's out there." "Patrol's nearby," Cal said, voice alert. "I'm coming. 5 minutes. Stay put." The line cut, and Ellen woke Toby, guiding him upstairs with Ranger, the shepherd's ears pinned back. "Quiet now," she said, shotgun in hand, and they huddled in the guest room, the window cracked for sound. Headlights flashed, Cal's truck, then a patrol car, sweeping the yard. Ranger's growl eased, and Ellen watched deputies fan out, their beams cutting through the mist. A shout broke the silence. "Over here!" And Cal's voice barked orders. Ellen cracked the door, listening as they dragged something from the fields, a man, smaller than Hardy, cursing as they cuffed him. Cal knocked minutes later, his face grim. "Caught a straggler, Eddie Klein, Hardy's lackey. Skulking by the barn, had a knife. Says he's from that farm, looking for the kid." Ellen's grip tightened. "Toby?" "Yeah," Cal said. "Hardy talked, spilled about a racket up north. Takes runaways, works 'em. Worse, some say. Klein's small fry, but it's proof. Raids at dawn. State police joining. They're done." Relief battled dread in Ellen's chest. "And Toby?" "Safe with you," Cal said, softening. "No record of him yet. Might have slipped through cracks. We'll sort it. Legally. He's yours till we know more." He glanced at Ranger, who'd patted down, tail wagging. "Good dog. Saved us again." "Thanks, Cal," Ellen said, locking up as he left. She turned to Toby, who'd crept downstairs, Ranger at his side. "They got another one. Won't bother us now." Toby nodded, clutching Ranger. "They're mad I ran." "Let 'em be," Ellen said, fierce. "You're here, they lose." She hugged him, Ranger pressing close, and the night settled, quieter now. Morning broke with a weak sun, the mist thinning. Ellen cooked bacon and eggs, Toby eating with less hesitation, Ranger begging scraps. "Raids today," she said, pouring coffee. "Cal's ending it. Those people won't hurt anyone else." Toby's eyes brightened. "Good. Ranger'd fight 'em all." He tossed the shepherd a bacon bit, earning a happy chomp, and Ellen laughed, the sound easing her tension. The day stretched slow, the barn their refuge. They fixed a loose board, Sam's hammer in Toby's small hands, Ranger sprawled nearby, and Ellen taught him to oil the tractor, its engine rumbling to life. "Sam loved this thing," she said, wiping grease, said it talked back. Toby grinned, revving it. "It's loud, like Ranger when he's mad." The shepherd barked, bounding around, and the barn filled with their noise, a reclaiming of space. Afternoon brought Cal's call, his voice tired but triumphant. Raid's done. Farm's a hellhole. 10 kids, half-starved, locked in sheds. Hardy's crew ran it. Forced labor, some trafficking. Shut it down. Arrested 6. Toby's lucky he got out. Ellen's stomach churned. He's free? Yeah, Cal said. No family on record. Parents gone. Bounced homes till that place. State's letting him stay with you. Temporary custody. Pending adoption if you want. Adoption, Ellen echoed, the word heavy, warm. I'd like that. Thought so, Cal said, chuckling. Paperwork's coming. Ranger's earned it too. He hung up, and Ellen turned to Toby, who raked hay, Ranger at his heels. Cal says you can stay, she said, kneeling. Official, like family. What do you think? Toby's rake stilled, his eyes wide. For real? With you and Ranger? Yeah, Ellen said, smiling. If you want. He dropped the rake, hugging her tight, Ranger barking joyfully. Yes, he said, muffled against her shoulder. Please. Ellen held him, tears pricking, the barn a witness to their pact. Evening fell, the sky clear, stars piercing the dark. Ellen cooked stew, Toby set the table, Ranger sprawled by the fire. They ate in comfortable silence, the weight of the raid lifting with each bite. They're gone, Toby said, spoon pausing. All of them? Locked up, Ellen said. Cal's sure, no more coming. Toby nodded, relief softening his face, and Ranger thumped his tail, a quiet amen. Night deepened, the house warm. Ellen tucked Toby in, Ranger curling beside him, and sat by the fire, the shotgun stowed, less needed now. She thought of Sam, his barn alive again, and felt him in this. Toby's trust, Ranger's loyalty, a purpose reborn. Sleep came gentle, dreams of fields blooming, a German shepherd leading the way. She woke to Ranger's bark, sharp, urgent, heart leaping. The clock read 2 a.m., the fire dead. She grabbed the shotgun, peering out. A truck idled by the barn, not Hardy's, not Klein's, but new, lights off. Ranger growled from the guest room, and Ellen knew this wasn't over. Someone else had come for Toby, and she'd fight to keep him. The farmhouse shuddered under the weight of the pre-dawn chill, the silence broken only by Ranger's sharp barks echoing from the guest room. Ellen stood at the kitchen window, shotgun cold in her hands, her breath fogging the glass as she stared at the truck idling by the barn. Its sleek black frame gleamed under the faint starlight, a stark contrast to Hardy's rust bucket or Klein's beat-up pickup. This was new, deliberate, and it sent a shiver down her spine. The headlights were off, but the engine's low rumble vibrated through the floor, a predator waiting to strike. She dialed Cal, her fingers trembling as the line rang. Ranger's barks turned to growls, deep and fierce, and Toby's voice called softly, "Ellen?" from upstairs. "Stay there," she hissed, then Cal's gruff voice crackled through. "Ellen, what's wrong?" "Truck by the barn," she whispered, eyes locked on the shadow. "Black, new, not Hardy's crew. Ranger's going nuts." "Lock it down," Cal barked. "I'm 8 minutes out. State police with me. Don't engage till we're there." The line cut, and Ellen bolted the door, shotgun steady now, adrenaline sharpening her senses. She climbed the stairs, finding Toby by the guest room window, Ranger beside him, hackles up, teeth bared at the glass. "Someone's out there," Toby said, voice quaking. "Not Vince, not Eddie. Worse." His hazel eyes were wide, terror etching lines too old for his face, and Ellen's heart clenched. "Whoever it is, they're not getting you," she said, fierce, pulling him back. "Ranger's here. I'm here. Cal's coming." She cracked the blinds, shotgun ready, and watched the truck. A figure stepped out, tall, lean, dressed in dark clothes, moving with a predator's grace toward the barn. Ranger growled louder, pressing against Toby, and Ellen aimed the light, catching a glint of metal. A gun, maybe, or a blade. "Downstairs," she said, guiding them to the living room, the fire's embers casting faint glows. She shoved the couch against the door, Ranger pacing, his growl a steady warning. Toby huddled behind her, clutching the shepherd's fur, and Ellen peered through the blinds. The figure circled the barn, then stopped, head tilting toward the house. listening, waiting. Sirens wailed in the distance, faint but growing, and the figure stiffened, darting back to the truck. The engine roared, tires spitting gravel as it peeled toward the fields, vanishing into the dark just as Cal's cruiser screeched in, state police on its tail. Ellen exhaled, shotgun lowering, and Ranger's growl eased, though his ears stayed sharp. Cal burst in minutes later, his deputy and 2 troopers behind him, guns drawn. "Gone?" he asked, scanning the room. "Yeah," Ellen said, voice steadying. "Black truck. Fast. Guy was armed, checked the barn, then bolted when he heard you." Cal's jaw tightened. "Not Hardy style. Too clean. Toby, you recognize him?" Toby shook his head, trembling. "Didn't see good, but he moved like the boss. Quiet, mean, ran everything." His voice broke and Ranger whined, licking his hand. "The boss?" Cal pressed, kneeling. "From that farm?" "Yeah," Toby said, tears brimming. "Never saw his face much. Always in shadows. Yelled orders, hurt kids worse than Vince. I ran 'cause he was coming for me. Heard him say I knew too much." Ellen's blood chilled, and Cal exchanged a look with the troopers. "Raid got the grunts," he said, standing. "Sounds like the head's still out there. Smarter, hidden. Tracks'll tell us something. Stay here." He led the team outside, their beams sweeping the yard, and Ellen sat with Toby, Ranger between them, the fire's warmth a thin shield. "They won't stop," Toby whispered, clutching Ranger. "He'll find me." "Not here," Ellen said, fierce. "He'd have to go through me, and Ranger. We're tougher than he thinks." Toby nodded, leaning into her, and Ranger thumped his tail, a quiet vow. Cal returned, grim-faced. "Tire tracks. New treads, heavy vehicle. Found a cigarette butt. Fancy kind, not local. This guy's no thug. Organized. Raid missed him. He's loose, hunting." Ellen's grip tightened on the shotgun. "For Toby?" "Likely," Cal said. "Kid's a witness, knows the operation. State's taking lead. FBI might step in if it's trafficking. We'll patrol heavy, but he's slippery. Keep Ranger close. He's your edge." "Always," Ellen said, patting the shepherd's head. Cal left, promising updates, and Ellen locked up, the house a fortress now. She stayed with Toby till he slept. Ranger curled beside him and sat vigil by the fire, shotgun ready, the night stretching taut. Morning broke cold, the plains a gray expanse. Ellen brewed coffee, exhaustion gnawing, and Toby emerged, quieter but steadier, Ranger at his heels. "He's still out there," he said, pouring juice. "Maybe," Ellen said, frying eggs. "But Cal's on it, state too. We're not alone." Toby nodded, feeding Ranger a scrap, and they ate in silence, the shepherd's presence a balm. The day dragged, the barn their refuge. Ellen taught Toby to carve, Sam's old knives, simple shapes in wood, and Ranger sprawled nearby, ears twitching at every sound. "You're good," she said, watching him whittle a dog. "Sam'd like that." "Really?" Toby asked, smiling faintly. "Yeah," Ellen said, her voice soft. "He loved making things, said it kept him sane." Toby's smile grew, and the barn filled with their quiet work, a shield against the threat outside. Afternoon brought Cal's call, his voice tense. "FBI's in. Farm's a trafficking hub, bigger than we thought. That boss matches a ghost. Roy Kessler runs crews across states. No photo, but Toby's story fits. He's after loose ends." Ellen's stomach dropped. "He's coming here?" "Possible," Cal said. "Patrols are up. FBI's staking the farm. Stay sharp. Ranger's your first line." He hung up, and Ellen turned to Toby, who sanded his carving, Ranger at his feet. "They know who he is," she said, kneeling. "Big guy. Roy. Cal's stopping him. You're safe." Toby's hand stilled, fear flickering. "Roy, he's meaner than Vince. Never stops." "He will," Ellen said, fierce. "We've got Ranger, Cal, the law. You're mine now." Toby nodded, hugging Ranger, and Ellen felt the weight of her promise. Family forged in fight. Evening fell, the sky bruising purple. Ellen cooked chili, Toby set the table, Ranger begging scraps, and they ate by the fire, its crackle a comfort. "He can't get me here," Toby said, spoon pausing. "Right?" "Right," Ellen said, meeting his eyes. "This is our ground." Toby smiled, small but real, and Ranger sprawled closer, a quiet guardian. Night deepened, the house warm. Ellen tucked Toby in, Ranger curling beside him, and sat by the fire, shotgun nearby. She thought of Sam, his strength, his barn, and felt him in this, a legacy reborn. Sleep tugged, but Ranger's ears pricked, a growl rumbling. She grabbed the gun, peering out, headlights slow and close, not Cal's. Her heart thudded as she dialed Cal, the truck stopping by the barn, its driver a shadow in the dark. "He's back," she whispered, and knew this time it was Roy, coming for Toby, testing her resolve. The farmhouse kitchen glowed faintly under the flicker of a single lamp, the fire's embers dying in the hearth. Ellen gripped the shotgun, its weight a cold anchor as she stared through the window at the black truck idling by the barn. Its engine purred, a low growl matching Ranger's, who stood rigid in the guest room doorway, his hackles up, teeth bared. The headlights were off, but the driver's silhouette loomed, tall, lean, deliberate. Roy Kessler. She knew it in her bones. Cal's voice crackled through the phone, sharp and urgent. "Ellen, we're 6 minutes out. FBI's with me. Lock it down, stay low. That's him, Kessler." "Got it," Ellen whispered, her breath fogging the glass. She hung up, turning to Toby, who'd crept downstairs, his eyes wide with terror, Ranger pressing close. "Upstairs now," she said, guiding him back to the guest room. "Stay quiet. Cal's coming." "It's Roy," Toby said, voice trembling. "He'll hurt you. He hurts everyone." His small hands clutched Ranger's fur, and the shepherd whined, nudging him, a vow of protection. "Not us," Ellen said, fierce, shotgun steady. "He's got to get through me, and Ranger. Hide under the bed. Go." Toby obeyed, scrambling beneath the frame, Ranger squeezing in beside him, his growl muffled but fierce. Ellen cracked the blinds, watching the truck. The driver's door opened, and Roy stepped out, tall, clad in a dark coat, a pistol glinting in his hand. He moved with a predator's calm, scanning the house, then the barn, his steps silent on the frost. Ellen's pulse hammered as she crouched by the window, shotgun aimed. She wouldn't shoot unless he forced her, Sam's lessons echoing. "Only if they're close, Ellen. Only if they mean it." Roy paused by the barn doors, prying them with a crowbar, the wood splintering under his strength. He slipped inside, and Ellen's mind raced. He thought Toby was still there, his old hideout. 6 minutes. Cal had to hurry. Ranger's growl deepened, and Toby whispered, "He's looking for me." Ellen shushed him, her finger on the trigger, watching the barn. A faint light flickered inside, Roy's flashlight, and then silence, broken by a curse sharp and furious. He'd found it empty, and Ellen knew he'd come for the house next. The barn doors swung open, Roy emerging, his pistol raised as he stalked toward the yard. Sirens wailed, distant, closing, and his head snapped toward the sound. But he didn't run. He moved faster, straight for the porch, his boots crunching gravel. Ellen's breath caught. Too close now, too bold. She aimed through the blinds, her voice a hiss. "Stay down, Toby." The front door rattled, a hard kick, the lock groaning, and Ranger's growl turned feral, his body tense beside Toby. Ellen stood, shotgun braced, and shouted, "Back off, sheriff's here, you're done." Another kick, the wood splintering, and Roy's voice snarled through, low and cold. "Give me the kid, lady. Save yourself the trouble." "He's not yours," Ellen snapped, finger tightening. "Leave, or I shoot." The door buckled, and Roy's arm shoved through, pistol glinting. Ranger lunged from under the bed, barking wildly, and Ellen fired. A warning shot, blasting the wall beside the door. Plaster exploded, and Roy cursed, recoiling, but didn't retreat. Sirens screamed closer, headlights piercing the dark. Cal's cruiser, FBI vans behind. Roy froze, then bolted, sprinting for the truck as tires screeched into the yard. Ellen ran to the window, Toby and Ranger beside her, watching Cal leap out, gun drawn, shouting, "Freeze Kessler!" FBI agents fanned out, cutting off the fields, their beams pinning Roy mid-stride. He raised his pistol, but a shot rang out, not Ellen's, an agent's, hitting his leg. Roy stumbled, collapsing, and agents swarmed, cuffing him as he snarled, blood staining the frost. Cal stormed up, his face grim, and Ellen lowered the shotgun, her knees weak. "Got him," he barked through the door. "You okay?" "Yeah," Ellen called, voice shaking. "Toby's safe. Ranger, too." She unlocked the door, letting Cal in, Ranger barking triumphantly, tail wagging. Toby crawled out, hugging the shepherd, tears streaking his face. "He's gone?" he asked, voice small. "Caught," Cal said, kneeling. "Leg shot, won't run again. FBI's got him. Whole operation's toast." He glanced at Ellen, nodding. "Hell of a shot. Scared him off." "Ranger did more," Ellen said, patting the shepherd's head. "Knew he was coming." Cal chuckled, and agents hauled Roy to a van, his curses fading as they drove off. The yard buzzed with activity, FBI sweeping the barn, Cal briefing Ellen. "Kessler's the head. Trafficking, extortion, kids like Toby worked to death. Raid missed him. He tracked Toby here, wanted him silenced. You stopped him." "Toby stopped him," Ellen said, fierce. "Ran, survived, brought Ranger to me." She hugged the boy, Ranger pressing close, and Cal smiled, rare and warm. "Family now," he said. "State's fast-tracking custody. FBI backs it. He's yours." He left to coordinate, and Ellen sat with Toby by the fire, relit now, its warmth chasing the night's chill. "You're staying," she said, meeting his eyes. "No one's taking you. Not ever." Toby nodded, tears brimming but happy. "With Ranger?" "Always," Ellen said, scratching the shepherd's ears. "He's ours. Saved us both." Ranger thumped his tail, sprawling across them, and the house felt alive, a fortress reclaimed. Morning broke, the plains golden under a weak sun. Ellen cooked pancakes, Toby flipping them with a grin, Ranger begging scraps. "He's a hero," Toby said, tossing a piece. "Scared Roy off." "You're the hero," Ellen said, smiling. "Ran from hell, found me. Ranger just followed." Toby blushed, and they ate, the barn quiet outside, its secrets safe now. Cal called midday, voice tired but sure. "Kessler's talking. Names, places, operations dismantled, kids freed thanks to Toby. Custody papers are coming. You're his guardian, legal." Ellen's chest lightened. "Good. He's home." She hung up, turning to Toby, who whittled by the fire, Ranger's shape in wood. "It's official," she said, kneeling. "You're mine. Family." Toby hugged her, tight and real, Ranger barking joyfully. "Thanks," he whispered, and Ellen held him, the shepherd a warm weight between them. The day stretched calm, the barn their haven, cleaning, carving, Ranger sprawling in the sun. Ellen felt Sam in it, not grief but pride, his legacy alive in this boy and dog. Evening fell, the sky clear. Ellen cooked stew, Toby set the table, Ranger at their feet, and they ate by the fire, laughter mingling with the crackle. "No more running," Toby said, spoon pausing. "Right?" "Right," Ellen said, fierce. "This is ours, yours, mine, Ranger's." He grinned, and Ranger thumped his tail, a quiet amen. Night settled, the house warm. Ellen tucked Toby in, Ranger curling beside him, and sat by the fire, shotgun stowed, unneeded now. She thought of Sam, his barn reborn, and felt peace. A family forged in fight, guarded by a German shepherd's loyalty. Sleep came gentle, the plains silent, their story secure. The Nebraska plains glowed under a fragile winter sun, the frost melting into patches of damp earth as morning broke over the farmhouse. Ellen stood at the kitchen window, coffee steaming in her hands, watching Ranger bound across the yard, his black and tan coat catching the light. Toby trailed him, a stick in hand, laughter spilling from his lips as the German shepherd leaped to catch it. The barn stood quiet behind them, its doors shut, no longer a hideout but a haven. Theirs, reclaimed from the shadows of Roy Kessler's threat. Ellen smiled, the sound of Toby's joy a balm to the tension of the past nights. The shotgun rested in its cabinet now, unneeded since Cal and the FBI had hauled Kessler away, his empire crumbling under the weight of his own confession. She'd slept through the night, first time in weeks. dreams of Sam blending with Toby's grin, Ranger's steady presence tying them together. The house felt alive, its silence replaced by life, and Ellen knew this was more than survival. It was a beginning. She cooked bacon and eggs, the sizzle filling the kitchen as Toby burst in, Ranger at his heels, cheeks flushed from the cold. "He's fast," Toby said, tossing the stick aside. "Caught it every time." "He's a champ," Ellen said, sliding plates onto the table. "You're not bad yourself." Toby grinned, digging in, and Ranger sprawled nearby, begging scraps with a hopeful whine. She tossed him a bacon bit, earning a quick chomp, and sat with them, the routine grounding her. "Cal says custody's coming, papers any day. You're stuck with me." "Good," Toby said, mouthful. "And Ranger?" "Stuck with him too," Ellen said, scratching the shepherd's ears. "Family deal." Toby's smile widened, and they ate, the barn glowing gold outside, a silent witness to their pact. The day stretched calm, the plains still. Ellen took Toby to the barn, teaching him to tune Sam's old radio, static crackling into a twangy guitar. "Sam loved this," she said, adjusting a knob. "Said it kept the ghosts away." "Ghosts?" Toby asked, eyes wide. "Just a saying," Ellen said, chuckling. "Meant the quiet, kept him company." Toby nodded, humming along, and Ranger sprawled on a hay bale, tail thumping. They cleaned more, tools sorted, hay stacked, and Ellen felt Sam's presence, not heavy now but warm, woven into their work. Afternoon brought a call from Cal, his voice lighter. "FBI's wrapping up. Kessler's singing, named his whole network. Dozen arrests, kids in care. Toby's the spark, broke it open." Ellen's chest swelled. "He's tough, smarter than they knew." "Damn right," Cal said. "Custody's filed, judge'll sign tomorrow. You're his guardian, legal. Adoption's next if you want." "I do," Ellen said, firm. "He's mine, Ranger's too." Cal chuckled, promising to stop by, and Ellen turned to Toby, who whittled a wooden Ranger by the workbench. "It's set," she said, kneeling. "You're staying, official tomorrow." Toby's hands stilled, his hazel eyes bright. "Really? Really?" Ellen said, hugging him. Ranger barked, leaping down to join, and they laughed, the barn alive with their noise. "Gonna fix this place up," she added. "Make it ours. Maybe a workshop, your space." "For carving?" Toby asked, grinning. "And whatever you want," Ellen said. "Ranger's fort, too." The shepherd thumped his tail, and they spent the day dreaming. Plans for shelves, a paint job, Sam's legacy reborn. Evening fell, the sky a soft purple. Ellen cooked chili, Toby set the table, Ranger begging scraps, and they ate by the fire, its crackle a steady pulse. "No more bad guys," Toby said, spoon pausing. "Right? Locked up," Ellen said, meeting his gaze. "Cal's sure, FBI too, just us now." Toby nodded, relief softening his face, and Ranger sprawled closer, a quiet guardian. Night settled, the house warm. Ellen tucked Toby in, Ranger curling beside him, and sat by the fire, the shotgun stowed, a relic now. She thought of Sam, his barn thriving, and felt peace, a family forged in fight, guarded by a German shepherd's loyalty. Sleep came gentle, the plains silent, their story secure. She woke to a knock, sharp, insistent, heart leaping. The clock read 6 a.m., dawn barely breaking. Ranger barked from the guest room, low and wary, and Ellen grabbed her coat, peering out. A woman stood on the porch, mid-40s, thin, with sharp eyes and a clipboard, her sedan parked behind. Not Cal, not FBI. Someone new. Ellen cracked the door, Ranger at her heels, growling softly. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice tight. "Ellen Harper?" the woman said, tone clipped. "I'm Diane Voss, Social Services. I'm here about the boy Toby. We need to talk." Ellen's stomach dropped, Ranger's growl deepening. "He's mine. Custody's set. Sheriff Brooks knows." Voss's lips thinned. "Temporary custody. Pending review. I've got concerns. Isolated farm, your age, the dog. We're re-evaluating placement." "He's not going anywhere," Ellen snapped, stepping forward. "He's safe. Happy. Who sent you?" "State office," Voss said, unfazed. Complaint filed. Anonymous but serious. I need to see him, now. Ellen's mind raced. Kessler's crew, a last jab, or someone else. Ranger pressed against her, teeth bared, and Toby's voice called, "Ellen?" from the stairs, sleepy and scared. She turned, meeting his eyes, and knew this was a new fight, one she'd win, for him and Ranger. "Stay there," she said to Toby, then faced Voss, fierce. "He's my family, papers or not. Call Cal, check it, you're not taking him." Voss hesitated, clipboard lowering. "I'll verify, but this isn't over. I'll be back." She retreated to her car, driving off, and Ellen locked the door, Ranger's growl fading to a whine. Toby ran down, hugging her, Ranger between them. "She wants me gone?" he asked, voice trembling. "No," Ellen said, fierce. "She's wrong. I'll fix it. You're mine. Ranger's too." He nodded, tears brimming, and she held them, the fire's warmth a shield. Cal's number rang. No answer, voicemail full. She left a message, sharp. "Cal, social worker here. Voss wants Toby. Stop her. Custody's mine." Morning dragged, the plains gray. Ellen cooked pancakes. Toby ate quietly. Ranger sprawled nearby, ears twitching. "She can't take me," he said, fork pausing. "Right?" "Right," Ellen said, fierce. "I'll fight. Cal will. Ranger will. You're home." Toby smiled, small but real, and they clung to it, a lifeline against this new threat. The barn became their refuge, carving, cleaning, Ranger bounding between. Ellen's mind churned. Voss's complaint, a shadow of Kessler's reach, or something closer? She'd protect Toby, no matter who came, and Ranger's loyalty steeled her. Evening loomed, the fight ahead, but they were together, unbreakable, forged in the barn's quiet strength. The farmhouse kitchen hummed with the scent of brewing coffee, the gray dawn seeping through the windows as Ellen paced, her mug untouched on the counter. Ranger sprawled by the back door, his amber eyes tracking her, ears twitching at every creak of the old house. Toby sat at the table, his sketchpad open to a drawing of the German shepherd, fierce, protective, his pencil moving in fits and starts. Diane Voss's visit hung over them like a storm cloud, her clipped words, "Re-evaluating placement." A threat Ellen couldn't shake. The plains outside were still, but the quiet felt fragile, ready to crack. Ellen dialed Cal again, the line ringing unanswered, her frustration mounting. "Pick up, damn it," she muttered, leaving another voicemail. "Cal, it's Ellen. Voss came. Social services wants Toby. Custody's mine. Call me." She hung up, turning to Toby, who'd paused, his hazel eyes shadowed with fear. "She's coming back," he said, voice small. "Isn't she?" "Maybe," Ellen said, sitting beside him. "But she's not taking you. Nobody is. You're mine, legal or not. Ranger's too." She squeezed his hand, Ranger thumping his tail, and Toby nodded, a flicker of trust breaking through. "Why's she here?" he asked, pencil tapping. "Kessler's gone. Everyone's gone." "Dunno," Ellen said, her jaw tight. "Could be a last jab from his crew. Anonymous complaint," she said. "Or someone local stirring trouble. Cal'll sort it, I'll sort it." She forced a smile, fierce. "We've faced worse, huh?" "Yeah," Toby said, managing a small grin. "Ranger'd bite her." The shepherd barked, hopping up to nudge them, and Ellen laughed, the sound a defiance against the weight pressing in. Morning dragged, the barn their refuge. Ellen taught Toby to sand wood, Sam's old tools in his small hands, and Ranger sprawled nearby, chewing a stick. "Gonna make a shelf," she said, guiding his strokes. "Your spot for carvings." "Cool," Toby said, sanding harder, dust swirling. The radio crackled country tunes, and they worked in rhythm, the barn a shield. Ellen's mind churned, Voss's sharp eyes, her clipboard, the vague concerns. Age, the farm, Ranger. It didn't add up. Custody was set, Cal had said, FBI backed. Something was off. Cal's truck rumbled in at noon, his broad frame stomping up the porch. Ellen met him outside, Ranger at her heels, Toby peering from the barn. "Voss hit you too?" Cal asked, grim. "Yeah," Ellen said, arms crossed. "Dawn, social services wants Toby. Said custody's under review. Complaint, anonymous." You know her?" Cal's jaw tightened. "Heard of her. Stickler, new to the county. Checked with state. Your papers are filed. Judge signs today. She's jumping the gun. Complaints fishy. Time too perfect after Kessler." Ellen's stomach nodded. "His crew?" "Possible," Cal said. "Or a grudge. Someone local maybe. I called her boss. Chewed him out. Voss has got no pull till the judge rules, but she's stubborn. Wants an inspection. Today." "Here?" Ellen snapped fierce. "She's not stepping foot inside, scaring Toby for nothing." "Agreed," Cal said. "I'll stall her. FBI's on it too, sniffing for Kessler's ties. Keep Ranger close. He's your proof Toby's safe." He patted the shepherd's flank, Ranger wagging, and glanced at the barn. "Kid's good?" "Shaken," Ellen said, softening. "But tough. Trusts me, Ranger. Won't let her take that." Cal nodded, climbing into his truck. "I'll handle Voss. Call if she shows." He drove off, dust swirling, and Ellen returned to Toby, who'd sanded a plank smooth. Ranger sprawled beside him. "Cal's fixing it," she said, kneeling. "You're staying. Voss is just noise." Toby nodded, sanding slower. "She looked mean, like the farm lady. All rules." "No rules here," Ellen said, fierce. "Just us. Family." Toby smiled, real this time, and they worked till dusk, the shelf taking shape, Ranger's fort growing with it. Evening fell, the sky a soft bruise. Ellen cooked stew, Toby set the table, Ranger begging scraps, and they ate by the fire, its warmth a steady pulse. "She can't win," Toby said, spoon pausing. "Right?" "Right," Ellen said, fierce. "Cal's got the law. Ranger's got teeth. You're mine." Toby grinned, and Ranger thumped his tail, a quiet vow. Night settled, the house warm. Ellen tucked Toby in, Ranger curling beside him, and sat by the fire. Cal's words, inspection today, gnawing at her. She'd fight, papers or not, but Voss's timing stank, too neat, too sharp. Sleep tugged, but a car engine hummed close and slow, snapping her awake. She grabbed her coat, peering out. Voss's sedan, idling by the barn, lights off. Ranger growled from upstairs, and Ellen dialed Cal, her whisper urgent. "She's here now, no notice." "Damn it," Cal barked. "I'm 10 out, stall her, legal's on your side." The line cut, and Ellen cracked the door, Ranger bounding down, hackles up. Voss stepped out, clipboard in hand, her thin frame stark against the barn. "Mrs. Harper," she called, voice clipped, "I need to see the boy. Now." "No warrant, no entry," Ellen snapped, stepping onto the porch, Ranger growling beside her. "Custody's mine. Judge rules tomorrow. Leave." Voss's eyes narrowed. "Complaints serious. Neglect, unsafe conditions. I've got authority." "Bull!" Ellen cut in, fierce. "Sheriff Brooks says you're overstepping. Call him." Ranger barked, teeth bared, and Voss flinched, clipboard lowering. "I'll be back," she said, retreating to her car. "With backup, this isn't over." She drove off, tail lights fading, and Ellen locked up, Ranger's growl easing to a whine. Toby stood on the stairs, trembling. "She's mad," he said. "Wants me gone." "She's wrong," Ellen said, hugging him. "Cal's coming, you're safe." Ranger pressed close, and they sat by the fire, the night stretching taut. Cal arrived, grim-faced, his truck kicking gravel. "Voss is pushing," he said, stomping in. "Complaints from a concerned citizen, no name, filed yesterday. Smells like Kessler's lawyer, a last kick. Judge'll squash it, FBI's digging. She's got no case, just noise." Ellen exhaled, relief battling anger. "She scared Toby. For nothing." "Yeah," Cal said, softening. "I'll tail her. Keep her off till morning. Custody's yours. Done." He glanced at Toby, Ranger beside him. "Tough kid. Good dog." "Thanks, Cal," Ellen said, locking up as he left. She turned to Toby, fierce. "You're mine. Nobody's changing that." Toby nodded, tears brimming but steady. "Ranger too?" "Always," Ellen said, scratching the shepherd's ears. They slept by the fire, Ranger sprawled across them, a warm shield. Morning broke, the plains gold, and Ellen cooked pancakes, Toby flipping them, Ranger begging scraps. "Judge today," she said, pouring juice. "It's over. Voss loses. Good, Toby said, grinning. Ranger'd chase her off. Ellen laughed, the sound light, and they ate, the barn glowing outside, their haven secure. Cal called at 10, voice triumphant. Judge signed, custody's permanent. Voss's complaints tossed, FBI tied it to Kessler's crew, retaliation. She's off your back. State's sorry. Ellen's chest lightened. Thanks, Cal, really. Family's earned it, he said, hanging up. She turned to Toby, kneeling. It's done. You're mine, legal. Toby hugged her, tight and real, Ranger barking joyfully. Home, he said, and Ellen held them. The fight won, their bond unbreakable. The Nebraska sun hung low over the plains, painting the farmhouse in hues of gold and amber as winter's grip softened into a crisp afternoon. Ellen stood on the porch, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea, watching Toby and Ranger race across the yard. The German shepherd bounded after a stick Toby flung, his black and tan coat gleaming, tail high with joy. Toby's laughter rang out, clear, unburdened, a sound that had grown steadier since the judge's ruling sealed their family, banishing Diane Voss and the shadows of Roy Kessler's world. Ellen smiled, the warmth of the tea seeping into her fingers, grounding her. The barn loomed behind them, its weathered boards no longer a ghost of Sam's memory, but a living space, theirs rebuilt with sweat and trust. The past weeks had forged something unbreakable, custody papers inked, threats silenced, a widow's grief reshaped into purpose. Ranger's loyalty and Toby's courage had pulled her from the dark, and now the farm pulsed with life, a rhythm she'd forgotten she could feel. Inside, the kitchen smelled of baking bread, Sam's recipe, one she'd taught Toby that morning. He burst in, Ranger at his heels, cheeks flushed from the cold. Bread's almost done, he said, tossing the stick aside. Ranger wants some. He'll get a crumb, Ellen said, chuckling as the shepherd barked, hopping up to nudge her. Good boy, earned it. She slid the loaf from the oven, its crust golden, and Toby grabbed a knife, slicing with careful pride. They ate at the table, butter melting into warm slices, Ranger sprawled nearby, his reward devoured in a happy chomp. Cal says it's permanent, Ellen said, sipping tea. No more Voss, no more trouble. You're mine, legal and done. Toby grinned, crumbs on his chin. And Ranger's ours? Always, Ellen said, scratching the shepherd's ears. Family deal. Judge, sheriff, and this mutt agree. Toby laughed and they lingered, the quiet full of peace, the barn glowing outside their window. The day stretched into a calm routine, barn work, now a joy. Ellen and Toby finished the shelf they'd started, nailing it to the wall, Toby's carvings, a wooden Ranger, a tractor, lined up proud. The radio hummed, Sam's old tunes weaving through, and Ranger sprawled on a hay bale, tail thumping. Looks good, Ellen said, stepping back. Your space now, Sam'd love it. Really? Toby asked, sanding a new piece, a barn shape. Yeah, Ellen said, her voice soft. He built this for making things. Said it kept his heart full. You're doing that. Toby's eyes brightened, and they worked till dusk, the barn a testament to their bond, Ranger its guardian still. Cal stopped by, his truck rattling in, a rare smile creasing his face. FBI's done. Kessler's crew's dismantled, kids in homes. Toby's the hero, started it all. He handed Ellen a folder, custody papers, adoption forms half filled. Sign these when you're ready. He's yours either way. Thanks, Cal, Ellen said, taking them. We'll do it. Family's official, but this makes it loud. Cal patted Ranger, who wagged, and glanced at Toby, tossing a stick. Tough kid, he said. Good dog, hell of a team. He left, promising coffee soon, and Ellen turned to Toby, kneeling. Adoption, she said, showing him the forms, means forever, not just custody. You in? Toby nodded, hugging her tight, Ranger barking joyfully. Yeah, forever with you and Ranger. Ellen held him, tears pricking, the barn a silent witness to their vow. Evening fell, the sky a soft purple. Ellen cooked spaghetti, new tradition, Toby's pick, and they ate by the fire, Ranger begging scraps, his tail a steady beat. No more running, Toby said, twirling his fork. Feels good. Feels right, Ellen said, fierce. This is home. Yours, mine, Ranger's. He grinned and they laughed, the fire's crackle a warm echo. After, Toby sketched, Ranger mid-leap, the barn behind, and Ellen watched, Sam's ghost a gentle presence, not pain but pride. Night settled, the house warm. Ellen tucked Toby in, Ranger curling beside him, and sat by the fire, adoption forms in hand. She signed them, Ellen Harper, guardian, mother, her pen steady, the weight of it light now. Ranger's snores drifted down, Toby's trust a quiet gift, and she felt Sam in it, his barn, his heart, alive again. Weeks turned to months, spring creeping in. The plains bloomed, wildflowers dotting the fields, and Ellen planted a garden, Toby digging beside her, Ranger chasing butterflies. The barn thrived, painted blue, Toby's choice, shelves full, a workshop humming with their projects. Adoption came, Judge's stamp, Cal's cheers. And Toby took her name, Harper, a bond sealed in ink and love. One crisp evening, Ellen found a letter in Sam's old toolbox, faded, unopened, her name in his scrawl. She sat by the fire, Toby sketching, Ranger sprawled and tore it open. Ellen, it read, if I'm gone, don't let the barn die. It's ours, built for life. You're tougher than you know. Keep it full. Love, Sam. A photo slipped out. Sam, her, the barn knew, his grin wide. Tears fell, soft and healing. Ellen showed Toby, and he hugged her, Ranger pressing close. He'd like this, Toby said, voice steady. Us here. Yeah, Ellen said, smiling. He does. She framed the letter, hanging it by Toby's sketches, a legacy woven into their days. The town embraced them, potlucks at the barn, Toby's carvings gifts, Ranger a local star. Ellen hired help, fields tilled again, cattle soon, and the farm breathed, a heartbeat reborn. Summer arrived, the plains golden. Ellen and Toby sat on the porch, Ranger sprawled in the grass, Toby sketching the sunset. Think Sam's watching? He asked, pencil pausing. Yep, Ellen said, her voice warm. With your folks, proud as hell. Toby smiled, and she felt them. Sam, Toby's lost family, in the breeze, the barn, the life they'd built. Ranger barked, hopping up to nuzzle them, and Ellen laughed, the sound free. Their story wasn't just survival, it was redemption. Ellen looked at Toby, at Ranger, and knew they'd keep growing together, no matter the seasons. The barn glowed behind them, blue and strong, a haven born from a German shepherd's watch and a widow's love. If this story warmed your soul, join us at Pawprints forever for more tales of loyalty, courage, and the unbreakable bonds between humans and animals. Subscribe now. Don't miss our next adventure. Click here to watch more.